Hello, what's going on? It's Specie here with one of my favourite decks. I actually uploaded a very similar list a few days ago, but this deck did get me to pro rank this season. It is a Keltullis deck. It's one of the funnest ways to play Gwent in my opinion, and it's super strong. I actually took this deck to a tournament recently as well, and it performed really well. I will warn you though, there's a massive downside to this deck, and it starts in an eye and it ends in an eye. Eyck. Yes, Eyck's quite scary when you play this deck, but you know what? What can you do, man? You've got to have some fun. Uridin as well, pretty scary, but there is some ways you can sort of get around that and mitigate how much damage those cards do. They're still going to get like an insane amount of points versus you, but you can still win games. So essentially a Kelly deck is using Keltullis, and we want to have basically not that many units on our side of the board and get Kelly getting loads of value. The reason we're using Death Shadow predominantly is because you're able to use Caranthea on Keltullis. So Keltullis is going to be at 1 strength, but then you can use Death Shadow on Keltullis for an 8-point leader that's giving you a second Keltullis. So incredible leader value in this deck. And yeah, so like I say, it plays for 8 points, but also you've got to consider this also could trigger your Thrive. And it not only gives you 2 Keltullises, more importantly, it lets you use Keltullises in multiple rounds. So let's say I was to lose round 1 and my opponent's to try and bleed me round 2. I could use my Caranthea and my leader ability in round 2. And that would mean I still have Keltullis in my hand for round 3, because Keltullis is 13 provisions and unable to be renewed. So yeah, Death Shadow is just really nice. And actually there's a few different options you can do with this leader. There has been a few times, certainly when I was still getting used to the deck a bit more, like in the tournament when I had sort of lackluster leader abilities. Like actually in the final game of the tournament, I had 2 points off my leader, and that sort of cost me the game really. But I think once you get used to the deck a bit more, you'll be able to think of some other ways to use the leader. So, like I said, we've got Caranthea and Keltullis. I am also using Renew. Renew is actually surprisingly amazing in this list. Obviously, you can only renew cards under 9, but it means you can renew Caranthea for an extra Kelly. You can actually get up to 4 Kellys in this deck, because you can Caranthea, you can then Death Shadow Caranthea, you could then renew Caranthea, and you can play Kelly. So you can actually get 4 Kellys on the board at the same time in theory, and it has happened once, and I actually lost that game, will you believe, in the same tournament. There's a story for another time. So yeah, Renew's great, lots of options, Caranthea being one, but there's a few other really good options we're going to talk on a little bit in a sec. The other big combo, really for any Keltullis deck in my opinion, is Raw Decree for that consistency, and also you're going to need Matter as well. Now it might seem a little bit excessive using Matter and Raw Decree, but Matter is guaranteed to put Kelly in our hand, which is super important because then you're able to Caranthea Kelly. You never want to play Kelly from your hand directly in round 1 or 2. You only really want to have Kelly in your hand going into round 3, because as soon as you play Kelly directly from your hand, she's not coming back. Like, you can't renew her, you can't replay her. So Matter puts Kelly in your hand, which allows you to Caranthea her, which is really, really important. And obviously Matter's then hitting renew if not, which is a great card. And Raw Decrees for that consistency, getting the cards you need when you need it, mostly Caranthea. Again, there's sometimes where you're just going to need, let's say I lose round 1 and I'm getting bled, I'm going to need a Kelly of some sort to keep me in the round. If I don't have this Raw Decree, it's just going to really brick some games, and the consistency is absolutely worth it. There's so many cards I'd love to fit into this deck, but you just can't quite, but the consistency is definitely key in my opinion. Then a big monsters combo, of course, is Ygern and Ozeril. And no change with this particular list either. These cards are just absolutely brilliant. Ygern being fantastic when you're going second, particularly in round 1. It's just a big tempo play, especially if you've got some Thrive down on the board like we do in this deck. Just a great card. And obviously Ozeril is just a fantastic finisher. But actually in Death Shadow, this is a really nice option to use your leader ability on in certain games. And it's also a really good renew target. So you could Ozeril, for instance, your opponent's Morkvarg in their graveyard, because that's a card that's going to give us a lot of grief. And yeah, then you could potentially renew your Ozeril, or you could even use Death Shadow on your Ozeril as well. So Ozeril is just a fantastic card in this deck. But also with Ygern, we've actually got a lot of consumes that you're going to see in a bit. And Ygern's not even bad in round 3 in a lot of games, because you can just consume it and then you can Ozeril as well for an insane amount of points in a short round, or even in a long round. That's just getting a lot of points that if your Kelly's getting value as well, you're just really, really difficult to deal with. So yeah, that's the one combo. Then I'm going to add in the other cards that are just fantastic monsters cards. Like, no surprises here, really. Well, I will actually throw in a little surprise first. I'll throw in a Strays of Spala. I am using one of these because Kelly is row locked, so you can move your Keltullis back. But it's also really good for, you know, the occasional game where you might want to move your opponent's Dagar, something like that as well. So it's pretty useful even if you're not expecting movement. I think one piece of movement is the sweet spot. If worse comes to worse, there are some very rare situations where you could renew this. Can't say I've done that very often, but obviously if your Keltullis gets moved, this can come in really very useful. And I actually will just throw in the defender as well. We are using Cave Troll, and again, Cave Troll is a fantastic option to renew. If you're playing against an opponent where you're only expecting them to have one purifier, such as, like, let's say I'm playing against the Monsters Vampires deck, I know they're probably going to run Queen of the Night. I know, okay, they might be able to purify my defender, but if I was to eat my defender with a consume and then renew it, chances are they're not going to be able to get through that apart from with damage, which means your Keltullis can get left unanswered for an extended amount of time and just get some insane value off that. So Cave Troll is really good. There is also the consideration to Cranthea the Cave Troll in some matchups, and you can also use your Death Shadow leader ability on it as well to put it back at full strength. That is a very reasonable option in some games too. So Cave Troll is just fantastic in this deck, and really it allows us to use not many boosting cards. In fact, I don't use any ways of boosting up Kelly because we just sort of rely on sitting behind our Cave Troll in certain matches. Obviously, some games this Cave Troll can just get countered, like against your Gremists and stuff like that. But just sort of judge by the matchup if you're going to renew it. Like, the more you play with this deck, the more you'll sort of get used to what you're renewing. And Cave Troll will prove to be something you go for in a lot of games. Okay, let's get on to the good monsters card. Double Lava. There's no surprises there, but actually there sort of is, because this card has a lot of anti-synergy with Kelly because you're playing 2 units in one turn. And furthermore, it's a card you want to play quite early on, and you often want to put Keltullis down as soon as you possibly can to get her full value. But what I found actually in this deck, we've got enough power to use Lavas, and you can just Kelly slightly later. You can always consume these as well once they get a little bit bigger, but they're just too good not to use. And the biggest thing in using 2 of them is it almost means you're guaranteed, you're definitely not, but you've got a really good chance of having one in your hand round 1, which is super, super important because you want to try and get through round 1 without committing a Keltullis or without committing your lead ability or anything like that. And with the Lavas and a few other Thrives as well as Ygern, we're really consistently doing that. Previously, I used to use sort of cheesy stuff like Siri Dash as a sort of way of trying to do it with a Carapace, but it's just super inconsistent. Whereas obviously the Lavas are just unbelievably good cards for their provision cost, and it's just wrong not to use 2 of them. There are going to be some times where it's fine to mulligan these in round 3 if you know you're just going for full Kelly value and you don't want that many units, but like I say, that you've always got the option to just consume them as well, right? So we've got the Lava, and then the other card that is just one of the best monsters cards that I think is going to be in almost every monsters deck is the Beast. Now this card is not only, like, obviously a great card in monsters deck, it is unbelievable in this deck because we go so tall with a lot of our cards, with our consumey cards that I'm going to show you in just a second. So this card can just get some insane value for a 7 provision card. You can get it up to like 16, 18, 20 strength if you put it down first turn, even sometimes. Like, it's definitely possible to get it that high. But furthermore, it's also, and it's not something I'm actually using as much as I probably should be at the moment, but it's such a good Cranthea target. And what you can do is you could have 2, and Death Shadow as well, because you would Cranthea the Beast and you could Death Shadow Cranthea for another beast, and you could play the beast from your hand. You could even renew Cranthea for a third, so you can have 4 beasts, just like you can have 4 Kellys. And the way the beasts actually work is they proc off each other. So if I was to Cranthea the Beast in the front row, and then I was to use Death Shadow on Cranthea for another beast, the 2 beasts would be next to each other. The one on the left would buff up, and then the one on the right would also buff up just based off the other beast. So they are really very, very good indeed, and highly recommended to try that little combination out because it is just pretty much game winning. Like in a long round 3, especially if you're getting Kelly value as well, it's just incredibly frightening, and it just gives you a real nice option. And it's not something, like I say, I'm making the most of as much as I probably could be at the moment. Certainly when I played in the tournament, it's not something I did once, and I was still winning a lot of games. So definitely, if you feel like you're not going to get that much Keltullis value, do not be afraid to go for that combo, especially if they're sat behind a Cave Troll. Like, very few decks are going to be able to beat you, right? Now the Beast comes in as well because I'm actually using the Penitent. And this sort of core, I'm going to have to shout out Red Rame as well, because that guy knows how to build a deck, and this is sort of something I robbed off him. I was using the Crones previously, but this is just a nicer way of doing it, because you play our Lava down, and then you put a Penitent down, and you could just get some insane Thrive going that's going to carry you through round 1 without committing your Keltullis. Really nice card. We are only pulling one other card out of Penitent. It can be very rarely a Cranthea target if you do want both of these cards, but often it's not going to be. Again, it could potentially be a renew target, but it doesn't. I don't find it happen often. I'd love it to be Count Caldwell because this card has some really cool synergy with Keltullis because you can play it on the other side. I'm not sure if you guys have clocked this premium either, by the way, but it's worth a watch. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here we go. Here we go. It's happening. There it is. So, yeah, what you could do with this card is you could put it down, let it go to your opponent's side of the board, and it's essentially playing as like a spy to give you extra Kelly value. But unfortunately, Nilfgaard can lock this, etc., and it's just kind of risky as well coming out of the Penitent. So we are using Pugo. This card plays for 10 points coming out of the Penitent because you do not have this deploy of damaging a random enemy. You don't have to deploy, right? So rather than play for 7, it plays for 10 for 7. And obviously coming out of the Penitent, this means the Penitent is playing for 12 points plus the fact it's a Thrive as well, the initial card. So really, really strong. You'd rather have Pugo coming out of Penitent. So if you ever find a beast, you're always going to keep that in your hand. But obviously you just need to be careful of bricking this. So let's move on to the consumes because that's the next big part of the deck. Again, Bekkers Dark Mirror, by the way, would be a great consideration. Really good at dealing with tall units, but you could also Cranthea or Kelly, leave her, and then Bekkers, and she'd be at 18 strength after that. So that's a really nice play. I'm using Karen for those consumes. Again, it's a good renew target. It's a decent Cranthea target in certain matchups as well. But it's just really nice to have a card you can put down on the board, not having to consume anything straight away. And then let's say I was to lead with a Cave Troll, I could then put Karen behind my Cave Troll, and then I could use Cranthea on Kelly, use my leader ability, and eat Cranthea as well to start getting my Keltullis value ticking along straight away. Really, really important to have consumes because I am using a lot of units. The other consumes, which are pretty much auto-includes in Kelly decks, are the Bargheists and the Endrega Warriors. The Bargheist being a fantastic card for the reason it consumes 2 units, 1 on deploy, which is very important because it means you can get instant Kelly value. A card like a Slizzard you're going to have to put down on the board and wait a turn. It might possibly get removed before you even get to consume anything, and it just sort of slows you down. Whereas a Bargheist is 1 on deploy and then 1 on order as well, so it could be the next turn or like a slightly more convenient point to you. So Bargheist is an absolute shoe-in, and similarly so is the Endrega Warrior because 2 consumes for 4 provisions is incredibly powerful. You do just need to be careful with this card as well, though, with your placements of other cards. Like if you were to put your Penitent in the middle of like the Beast and your Cave Troll, it's going to be a bit awkward when you're trying to use your Endrega Warrior. Similarly, there are a couple of Insectoids in this deck that you're going to consume, and they're going to end up spawning a drone, which obviously that gets you an extra point, but it's also importantly an extra card on your side of the board, which is taking away from your Keltullis value. So your Gurn's an Insectoid, as is Karen, and so are our Lavas here. So, and obviously the other Warrior as well. So do be careful of that. There's going to be some times where you do want that extra point, but if it's a Keltullis round, chances are, if you're low on consumes, you will want to avoid that happening. So they're the consumes, which is super important. I have also got a couple of young Foglets here, which again I've ripped straight from Red Dream. Fantastic, fantastic card, as it's thinning your deck. It's a really nice play round 1. It's 4 provisions and it's 6 points. What more do you really need? We're already running a ton of consumes, so ideally your round 1 starts with a Lava, followed by a Penitent, followed by a Foglet, which is just to get all that Thrive ticking along, and then you could consume your Penitent and you could consume your Foglet with an Endrega Warrior, and that's just a lot of tempo real quick. You could then put down a Yagurn. That's hopefully going to wrap up round 1, or at least, even if you don't win round 1, it puts your opponent in a position where they're not going to be able to bleed you round 2, goes into a long round 3, and you win with Kelly. Hopefully, right? That's the objective. That's why this deck's been doing so well, as our round 1 is really strong. Slightly mulligan dependent. As you can see, we've got 4 slots left, and they're all 4 provision cards. And this is sort of where you've got a little bit of wiggle room. So there's a strong argument to go for Spores, because I don't have any tool removal in this deck. But also what Spores does is it also works as a boost. Let's say I was to Cranthea Kelly, and I didn't want to use my Death Shadow on her for some reason. I was behind a defender and I wasn't worried about Lacerate. I could just put Kelly down off Cranthea, and then I could Spores Kelly for an 8-point card. Similarly, if they're trying to damage my Kelly, let's say they get her down to 6 strength, I could Spores her up to 9, which doesn't seem that good, but if it keeps her alive, it's worth it, right? And obviously spells are really good as well in your Kelly rounds because you don't really want to play units. But the big problem with Spores is there is a card that is in a lot of decks at the moment, Triss Telekinesis, and there was too many times where my opponent would just use their Triss telekinesis, looking for like their Thunder or whatever, and then they say, Spores, and then they Spores my K-Rin for about 23 points or something stupid. So Spores has had to go for me just because there's so many Trisses about, even though I would love it. What I have gone for instead of Spores is the Natural Selection. Also worth mentioning, in the new expansion, there's I think it's called Pact, that works like a Swallow Potion, boosts the unit by 6, but gives Doomed for 4 provisions. That could be an option. But I actually really like having the Natural Selection as just a tiny bit of control. Being able to shut down opponents' engines like Neckarats is really useful. Also Melena in Squirtle, the movement card, because that can just wreck us really, really badly. So having access to this Natural Selection is really important for just dealing with those cards in particularly round 1. And in round 3, like, it's not the worst idea to hit a card down. Let's say they've got a bunch of 3 strength units and they've got 1 5 strength unit like a Pavko, and I've got Kelly down on the board. I could hit Pavko down to 1 strength because then my Keltullis is going to kill it. So you can also do that, and if not, you can just hit the tallest units and continue to get Kelly value. So this card's not amazing, but I do think it's important to have some sort of removal, and this does give us that exactly. I've got 2 slots left. There's a few considerations, to be fair, in this one. I was for a long time using the double Bruxer, but I have actually moved away from that. Where's the Bruxer? The double Bruxer here, as it is a 3 strength unit that's bleeding by 2 with Thrive. It's one of the best 4 provision cards in Monsters. I am still using 1 Bruxer, but I've also just, for the moment, and I think it's probably the way to go, I've thrown in a Necker Warrior as well, just so we've got like a little bit of discrepancy in the Thrives. A lot of the time, round 1, what will happen is you'll play Lava, Penitent, Foglet, and then you'd play Bruxer, and you're just sort of wasting a Thrive proc, if you like. Whereas if you've got the Necker Warrior, you can go Lava, Penitent, Foglet, Warrior, and that just works out a little bit better to just keep your Thrives proccing. So I've gone for 1 Warrior, 1 Bruxer. There are also some times where you want like a card to just put down in round 3 before you Cave Trail, before you Kelly, and I think the Necker Warrior is pretty decent to have. Anyway, that is the deck. I am using Tactical Advantage as well. It's not great, to be honest, but the main reason it's there is in round 1, if you wanted to Kelly, you could buff Kelly up. You could Cranth your Kelly and then buff her up, which doesn't happen very often. And there's also sometimes where you might just want to use your Tactical Advantage to get beast value. To be honest, the main reason it's there is there's just not really any better options. Like the Lamp's okay, but you're pretty fine using Tactical Advantage in this list, like I say, for the beast. And yeah, you're not going to use Earnest Shadows, unfortunately. So yep, this is the list. It's really good, man. We're going to head into a pro rank game now. And then I know the intro for this deck was quite long, but because this deck is like the final form, it is finished, I did want to give you like a decent little talking about it. If you do have any questions, if you've lasted this long, please do let me know. And yeah, I do stream like on Twitch pretty much every day as well at the moment, so like come check me out there as well. Why not, if you don't already. Let's move the camera. It's actually my first game of Pro Rank this season because Kelly did get me to Pro Rank on my stream earlier. So I'm going to play 1 game, I think, and then potentially I might show you a different game from before. Okay, we're up against Northgard. Lads, I'm going to be honest, it's a bad matchup, right? Poison is pretty scary. We are in Pro Rank. It's early on in the season as well, so everyone that's in Pro Rank at the moment is like a decent player, right? Very decent, you could argue, like the top percentage of Gwent players. So let's see what we can do. Talking about the mulligan, obviously Foglets, they can brick, and my Penitent can brick. To be honest, you never want Pooga in your hand. He always just wants to come through Penitent. We've got a Lava, which is good. I've got a ton of Consumes, way too many. Going to kick a Bargeist because I'd rather have Warriors in my hand round 1. Again, I'm just going to kick another Bargeist, to be honest here. And unfortunately, we don't find the Foglet, but you can already see the lovely value of having 2 Lavas. Even if we end up mulliganing 1 in round 3, I've got 1 in my hand, which is most important. And you can also see the value using 1 Bruxer and 1 Necker Warrior in this situation, right? Because we can go Penitent, Bruxer, Necker Warrior, and then we might consume our Penitent. Ideally, we'll get Poogo out, but it could obviously be the Beast as well. Again, this is another example of where the whatever you call it, the natural selections can come in useful, although actually maybe not, because he's used a leader charge on it, which is pretty interesting. I would not have done that if I was him, as I could easily be a deck using a Drowner, which luckily for him I'm not using a Drowner, but unfortunately for him I am using a Strazer Swaller, so I'm going to be able to move his Mangi division into the row with his other units in just a second here. And then, I mean, I would kind of like to wait with my Strays of Sparla because it's going to maybe slow me down with my Bruxer, but what can you do? So he does lock my my Penitent here. I am tempted to Bruxer, as it's going to get me more Thrive value, but equally I kind of do want to just put my Strays of Sparla down. The fact he's locked this as well, like, I'm not feeling too confident about staying in this round for that long, so I might just hold on to my Bruxer here. I will probably still put my Necker Warrior down, but again, the fact he's locked my Bruxer, locked my Penitent, I'm feeling a little bit uneasy about this one here. A little bit uneasy. We shut his engine down though, and obviously I'm pretty far ahead at this point. So he's starting to get his Bowman in. I am tempted to Bruxer, but I'm not sure it's really worth it. Let's do it, sod it. What could go wrong, huh? I am playing pretty slow here, which is quite scary. Would not be surprised if this Yigern gets completely countered as well, so we do need to be very careful. Maybe this Bruxer was a little bit greedy, but it's still going to play for 6 points. But this ain't playing for much either, right? So it's a really bad hand, let's be honest. Like, if you look at what's in the deck, I've got obviously Kelly, Crave Troll, Matter, another Lava. It looked like a good hand, like in terms of finding one Lava, but the Penitent, but yeah, it's less than ideal. And this is a problem the deck can have. It is quite draw dependent at times, for sure. No doubt about that. Not going to commit my tactical advantage yet, because it does just give him an easy lock. But you could also make a strong argument that my placements here were slightly off, because my Strays of Sparla is sandwiched in between 2 Thrive units. And if you use your Endrega Warrior, and I was to eat my Strays of Sparla here, it would actually proc all the other Thrives. But as I've lined it up, it's not looking too great. Obviously, if my Yigern gets poisoned, I could Ozeril it, but I think it's more likely it's going to get Yennefer'd. But he actually passes already, which I wasn't expecting. We'll take it. Very inexpensive round. Now, obviously, against Nilfgaard, we're pretty scared of Bull, so we could push this round a little bit. I'm not exactly sure how to react to that line of play he's just made. I'm pretty sure I'll put Yigern down. Yigern. But maybe not, honestly. I could just take this through to the next round. This is going to be one of those games where it's going to be renew on Defender, most likely. So we're definitely going to mulligan. I mean, Endrega Warrior is probably my worst card here. I've got quite a lot of consumes already, so let's get rid of that. Matter's obviously really good, and I can play Matter this round to get Kelly in my hand. It is a bit greedy, mulliganing more consume. But like I said, I'm kind of tempted to actually put Yigern down. I'm going to just start off with a Matter, though. This is going to put Kelly in my hand. And there is an argument as well to go for Yigern. As Poison is quite scary in the next round. And he may end up Yenning it. And if he does use Yen on Yigern, that's actually pretty good for us, because it's just something we don't have in the next... have to deal with in the next round. So it's very similar as well when you're going second. If you're expecting Igni, try and bait that Igni out in round 1. Try and get it out of their deck, because then it's not going to come and haunt you in round 3. For sure, that is a good motive. So obviously, Royal Decree here is... I mean, I could also... You could make an argument I could have tried to Foglet. I don't think I could have, though, right? Because I would have put Foglet down, and then I would have been kind of stuffed. I am going to put Yigern down here. To hopefully get out Yennefer from him. That would be really good. It would mean, of course, he gets his own Yigern next round, which is less than ideal. But equally, like, it means he can't Yennefer my Cave Troll, which is really going to be very important in this matchup. There's actually quite a good argument to Caranthea Cave Troll and then Death Shadow it to make sure I have a renew on Cave Troll as well. So he's not actually gone for it, but he is obviously threatening to destroy my Yigern. I do wonder if it is worth consuming my Yigern here, because he's 11 points down. He's going to have to play 2 cards to catch up, right? Like, you could make an argument I could play Bargeist here. And it's going to force some more poison out of him. I don't think it's terrible. Excuse me. I don't think it's terrible. I guess, though, it is pretty terrible, right? Because Yennefer would put him ahead. Yeah, it's terrible. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. That would have been a yikes. So, unfortunately, he is able to kill that, but it's also in my graveyard, right, for my Ozeril, so that's fine. And I mean, he played a couple of decent cards, the Crossbowman and Menno, so can't complain too much. The fact it's Menno is a little bit scary. So I think in this matchup, I'm actually fine to keep the lava in my hand for round 3 because I think it will bait out some removal. I don't really have that much in the way of consumes here. I do have the beast, of course. You could argue I'm supposed to keep this hand, but I've got the cave troll through Royal Decree. I don't really want Pugo in my hand, and I don't really want Foglets in my hand, so I'm going to keep this hand. I think this is fine here because I'm just expecting him to get removed anyway, and it will hopefully get out some of his decent removal cards. Hefty Helg's pretty scary, honestly. That is just one of the most yikes cards in the whole game, in my opinion. I really hate this card, as many people know. Essentially, I feel like my win con is just being able to kill this with Keltullis, which kind of puts me in an awkward spot, really. I think I'm just going to play Lavas, accepting they're probably going to die. Again, they're just going to get some of that removal I was talking about out. Like, this card's kind of a yikes from me. It's sort of an unwritten rule for me not to GG this card. It is a bit of a... it is something that we do say. Now, obviously, the fact that I don't have Cave Troll in my hand means I wouldn't be able to renew it if I am to find it. If he's to yen me, but I think I've just got to go for Cave Troll here, really. I don't really have any other plays I want to make. I guess I could just Osriel at this point. It's not that bad. Basically, I'm relying on killing Hefty Helg. I'm accepting this is probably going to die, right? But I just need to try and kill this at this point. Get some Kelly value going and hopefully keep her alive by putting her behind a Cave Troll. Caranthea on Kelly and then use Death Shadow on her. It's going to be interesting to see how this one does go. I can't say I've actually played against any Hefty Helg, really. So this is where the Keltullis is going to start coming in, right? She's going to be pretty decent, but he still does have, you know, 2 units, and I'm going to play quite a lot of units at once. So there is an argument to consume Osriel here, but I'm kind of still a little bit scared of poison. Maybe I don't need to be scared of poison in a Hefty Helg list. Maybe I do not need to be scared of poison. I could eat this, right? There's a very strong consideration to just eat this. Reason being is then I could Kelly next turn and kill this. I think I'm going to go for it, man. I think like I lose to poison. I'm just kind of accepting that. You could also make an argument I should have Bargeist to the front there. A very strong argument, as then I could defend her and try and keep it alive. But Yennefer's obviously super scary too. Yennefer just wrecks me though, honestly. Like, no matter what I do. And if Yennefer's gone, at least it gives my Cave Troll like a little bit of a better chance of surviving. We'll see, man. Like I say, tool removal, not our best friend in this deck. It's a high-risk deck. You do end up going super tool. Obviously, probably don't go this tool when you're expecting removal, but this is a bit of an interesting circumstance to be in, as I do just want to get my Kelly going as soon as possible, and I do want to Caranthea my Kelly as well. So if this does survive, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Caranthea on Keltullis, Death Shadow on Keltullis, and I'm going to eat Caranthea, which means I'll have 2 units. He'll most likely have 3 at that point, right? 1 being Hefty Helg. But there's obviously a chance he could use a Tactics card here as well. He is a little bit shook. He is going for a unit, and we do manage to kill Hefty Helg here with Keltullis. So he who dares wins. We assumed he wasn't poison, and it worked out. Now this is the beauty of the Bargeist, right? We got the 1 on deploy, and then we get the 1 a turn later as well, which is super important. Here's the combo. So Keltullis goes down to 1 strength. We're going to use Death Shadow on her to bring her in at 9, where she's more protected. And then we can eat our own Caranthea, which is then going to mean we've got 2 units. He's got 3. Unfortunately, I can't answer Stefan. But, you know, I've used 1 Keltullis, and I've got another in my hand still, right? We've obviously got the Cave Troll ready to come down as well, potentially. Wouldn't be that surprised if he has got some removal. Sorry. He might go for double assassination or something here, right? But I wouldn't be that surprised if he has got some Purify for my Cave Troll or like a Yennefer. He's certainly going to be considering his Stefan here, though. He goes for Yen. And he does actually go for the Royal Decree as well, which honestly is fine by me. Here comes Damien. Fun deck this guy's playing. This is like my worst nightmare of a deck you could ever play against. It's like anti-fun, pretty much. Is how I would phrase it. Few considerations here. Obviously, I could just go for... I think I do just go for Defender, honestly. Yennefer's gone, so I'm not that scared of it getting killed. And then if it does get killed, I can renew it, right? I could obviously renew Caranthea, but I don't really have that much in the way of consumes. Obviously, I want to get the Beast up and running too. But equally, the Beast is a unit, and I'm more worried about getting Kelly up and going. But equally, we're on even cards. He's obviously got like his leader ability still, like ×2, and his morale. So look, it's pretty peak, but it means I'm also going to just be able to renew my Cave Troll, right, in a little minute. So I think I'll go for the Beast first. Maybe I just go straight in with Kelly, because Kelly is going to get instant value here, right? But equally, I'm a little bit scared that he can poison my Beast here, and then he could lock or destroy whatever I put down next. So I am just going to stick the Beast behind it here, expecting this to get locked. Then I'll renew Cave Troll, and then finally I'll Kelly. And then my last 2 cards will be my Consume, so hopefully get that Keltullis value we are looking for. So you can see the beauty of the Cave Troll and the renew as well, right? Really flexible. Obviously you still have the option to renew Caranthea if I want to go down that route. And you can obviously see the Beast in most circumstances will get you an insane amount of value. Bribery, nothing I'm really scared of there, to be honest. Unless he fancies like Keltullis himself. Maybe actually an Ozeril would be quite scary if he was to Ozeril and eat my Cave Troll. If he was to be a really great player. The Beast is obviously very good for him, but the fact he goes for Bribery kind of tells me that I shouldn't be that scared of him. So I don't necessarily need a Defender, right? He would have gone for something else, like a Lock, if he had it. There's also a chance he's got that, I think it's Treason card. So I think my line of play might have changed slightly. I'm pretty tempted to use Renew on Caranthea onto Kelly. Just to get, like, even if it doesn't stick, which I'm not expecting it to, that still plays for like a decent amount of points here. It's definitely going to be my Renew here, right? I could just put my Kelly down herself, but it's either going to be Renew for Defender or Renew Matter gives me nothing. I think I'm just going to risk it and go for the thing. But then I could also Renew Aussie, right? Like, Aussie's still 10 points. Let's do this, man. I'm still getting, you know, a decent amount of points off that 4. I got 9 points off that Renew with the potential for more. I think it's decent, man. Like, obviously I could have Cave Trolled for 7. But with the added bonus of, you know, this is all protected. Which maybe I should have just taken that route. But, I mean, he's gone for the poison back here. I'm kind of tempted to eat this, honestly. Let's try and deny that poison value. He can't have that much poison, right? And I do have Last Eyck, so 1 round 1 as well, right? So my Keltullis is still going to get all this value. Look, we're playing super tool, but there's only a certain amount of tool removal one man can have, right? That's the beauty of it. Now, obviously, I could put my Keltullis down here, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I was to put Kelly down, I'd actually be taken away from this other Kelly. So all I'm going to do here is put this down and eat. And I'm actually going to eat both things, honestly. I'm going to be super greedy. Assume he can't kill me, because how would he really? Poison or Damien is what I'm expecting to be his last card. And obviously my Kelly's just continue to get incredible value. It's Peter. That's quite scary. Oh Jesus! Have I just thrown the game? Potentially. Oh dear. I wasn't expecting that. Oh wow. That wasn't supposed to happen. Yikes. Okay, I wasn't expecting Peter. So maybe I just threw the game slightly. Maybe. Might have overdone it. But equally, you can see the power of the deck, right? You can see the power of the deck. That was a super meta Nilfgaard deck. One of the most disgraceful decks in the whole game, in my opinion, using cards like Hefty Held, Defender, Stefan, Damien. It's like my worst nightmare of a deck, and I did GG it as well. Not training. Oh no, I'm not going to go into training. I'm going to get into another game, different cards. And,
are you capable?
Gaunt has asked me the questions. Will I learn from that blunder? Who knows? We might go in first in that last game as well, right? So it was a great effort against a very meta Nilfgaard deck. You can hopefully see why the deck's so good, man. Like, it's so flexible, really fun to play, and obviously resets and tool removal is our worst nightmare. But hopefully, apart from Igni and Uridin, you can normally put yourself behind a defender. I was just not worried about Peter there. I was more worried about poison for obvious reasons. This is pretty good to keep. This is pretty good to keep as well. I think I'm actually going to kick this because this will do the trick. I obviously don't want to hit Foglet and I don't want to hit Pugo. I don't know if I already saw him. So we'll keep this. I've got Egon, I've got a Lava, and I've got Penitent, I've got a Foglet, and I've got a Consume. So you really can't complain at all about this hand. And this is why this sort of Kelly deck does so well. You saw the power we've got in a potential round 3. Oh, I've just realised my thing's off. Oh, it's been like that the whole video. Oh dear, that's a yikes. It was like this the whole video, wasn't it? Oh dear. Me trying to be professional and it's not even on the screen properly. Oh, jeez Louise. Well, rip. I'm going to carry on though because it's been a fun video so far. I've actually recorded this already. I recorded a different version of it yesterday, but I changed the list slightly and I'm actually in Pro Ladder now, so I thought I could... I'm a bit more used to the deck, right? So we're not going to worry about what he's doing, to be honest. We're just going to, you know, play our own game. I don't think we want to commit Beast this round. We don't really want to commit Kelly. We don't mind using a Sparler if it's going to help. And we don't mind Egerning either. So we're going to put these two next to each other. And obviously I know I'm guaranteed Pugo off the Consume here as well. So I don't necessarily need to consume these straight away here, right? I could just get some Thrive value off my Penitent, which he's going to steal. Brilliant. It's going to steal that? Really? What? Bro. Okay, we're not playing against a very good player here. I'm going to throw that out there. I am going to throw that out there. This is one of those rare situations where you sort of wish you had Cranthea, right? I could Cranthea into Kelly right now. Jobs are good and Bish Bash Bosh. I am actually going to be a bit controversial here and put the Beast down. Just because this guy is putting a lot of pressure on me, right? I've still got a lot of points here, though. But it's going to proc the Thrive of the Penitent. And it demands an answer of some sort, right? It's obviously quite a big poison target for him as well. But I'm still feeling pretty confident here.
Mashed potatoes with thick gravy.
So obviously now he has shut me down somewhat. I think I'm just going to put Egon down. I don't really want to consume this just yet. I'm pretty much accepting this is not going to survive. But equally, it's worth a try, right? It's worth a try. You could also make an argument I could have put it back here because I could have consumed it. But I'm always consuming these two things, right? So it's actually going to poison that. Okay, this is one of those situations where if I just had like a Bargeist, it could be worth it. But I think this is pretty much me getting out of the round now. So I'm going to just eat both of these. Obviously, we get our Pugo in at a ton of points. And our Beast is going to keep ticking along. So even though he's got the poison on Egon, I'm still going to be getting passive points. And also, he poisons Egon. I could also Ozeril here, right? If I really want to win the round, like, I could go for it, to be fair. Problem is, he's probably just got another poison ready and waiting, right? So I Aussie, and he probably poisons me again. But equally, I don't feel great about just giving up the round so easily. I'm actually just going to go for it, man. You've always got the renew option on Aussie if you really want it. And it does give me 2 extra points off the Beast. So we'll see what he wants to do. I don't really fancy this guy trying to bleed me. So I'm now going to pass. I feel like that's a lot of points he needs to make up here. So it's probably going to be like a Yennefer or something. Which is quite scary. Yennefer on Aussie is a very good play. Not even sure if it's enough. It probably is, right? With a couple of leader charges. It doesn't even need a leader charge, in fact. As the Beast is going to stop proccing. Does he have Yennefer? That is the question. Pretty much left with no choice but to pass there. Potentially, I could have put Beast in a different row. It's actually playing 2 cards to take it. So, big wins for us there. And investing quite... That Vincent card is huge to get out of him because that just gets straight through our defender without the need for Purify. So, he just used Purify and his Vincent. when I've got Cave Troll. So this is probably one of those games where it's going to be Ruin You Cave Troll, maybe even Caranthia Cave Troll, maybe even Death Shadow my Cave Troll as well. My Cave Troll. I do like the Strays of Sparla to move his Mangler Division into the row. This is quite a good card to just dump down, so I'm going to keep this. Strays of Sparla is alright, but it's not amazing. I've still got a lot of good cards I want to find, right, so let's kick it. This is a good card to dump down, I think. So we're looking strong. He obviously didn't play it particularly well, but again, that's the power of our round 1, right? That is the power of our round 1. He obviously really did not play it well. Don't know what he was doing. Taking a lava over a Penitent with Swears. Very strange. He probably realised it was quite dumb as well. A little bit too late. So you want to have a decent mix of consume and points in a starting hand here. I do have Caranthia. Matter's not really that good here. Sand's honestly okay. It's quite controversial, but I'm again considering ditching the lava. But I do have to make the first play here, so lava's quite a good first play. I'm just going to ditch the Sparla, I think. I kind of want the consume. Then again, Karen's should be good enough. And we get Caranthia, which is really nice. That allows me to roll the crew whatever I fancy. Could be Matter to extend the round for a Bargeist, or it could just be a Bargeist itself. It's going to be one of the two. So no surprises with my first play here. Obviously, you want to get Kelly up and running as soon as you can for more value, but equally, like a lot of the time, your Kelly's sort of restricted, and you find that by the end of the game, Kelly's not consuming them, just getting damage every turn, so we're fine here. So obviously, not massive surprise that he is playing Masquerade Ball. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to Caranthia on the Cave Troll here, and then I might just Death Shadow it, not straight away though, but it also procs all my Thrive. I think I'm just going to leave it like that for the moment. And then if he poisons it, I might Death Shadow it. Basically what I don't want to happen here is put my Defender down and him to Yennefer it, because then that's my Cave Troll gone. Whereas in this situation I can Caranthia it, and he can Yennefer it, and then I could still put my normal Cave Troll down. I could even Caranthia, I could Death Shadow Caranthia, I could renew Caranthia for another one. But the most important thing is the fact that I can play another Cave Troll. Right? If I was just to play Cave Troll on its own, then he could have done that and I wouldn't have access to another one. So it was a pretty heads up play, if I do say so myself. I mean, I don't really want to put a Cave Troll down until he's poisoned something. I think I'm just going to dump this, man. Like, it's pretty whack. I could have actually got some good value off this, but I'm just trying to like deny his poison value. He's got a limited amount of plays left, right? I'm feeling pretty confident here. Obviously, I've got a ton of units, but it's important to remember I've got 2 consumes here, 3 consumes here. Option of more with Renew as well, right? So that's something I maybe need to consider, that I've not got many units. He is also going to be removing some of my units himself. And with stuff like his leader that's going to play a unit, and obviously the Masquerade Ball, we should be fine here, I would say. So I'm actually just going to use my Royal Decree. I could play Matter, but to be honest, I'm just going to play a Bargeist. And I'm going to consume the smallest unit. So it does give him a bit of a poison target, but not a very good one. I guess Caranthia is probably still my Death Shadow target as well, realistically. I don't really have a good one. So it's again something you just need to be careful of, like, because I could what I could do though is I could eat Caranthia, and then I could renew Caranthia onto Cave Troll, and then I could use Death Shadow on Cave Troll maybe. Something like that. You could do a few little things, right?
In my trade, I am a great artist.
I think let's do this. Tempted to put the other one down as well, but may as well just wait. He's gonna have to poison this one first, right? I'm going to be pretty tempted to eat this as well, to be honest. But I'll just wait to see if he can, how quickly he can get through my defender here before I just give him a bigger poison. So obviously I've got another defender here, and potentially I've got another defender here if I do want it as well, right? So, okay, so this is unfortunate. Obviously he's gone for the bleed on it, which will kill it. This is where Death Shadow would come in if I kept it. But I think we'll just put this cave troll down, this cave troll down now. And to be fair, I may as well eat this, right? I mean, it counts as consume, but I get the point. I think it's worth it. It takes away potentially from my Kelly value, but I'm not convinced we're actually going to get any Kelly value. You can always just put it in the back row, right? If it's looking pretty terrible. So here comes his next round of poison.
Feeling a bit Beckish.
I mean, he's already played Vincent, and he's played Cupbearer. I'm pretty sure he's not gonna. Pretty sure I don't need to be too scared of anything else. I'm gonna put Kelly down, and I'm pretty sure I'm just scared of poison more than anything else. So I am just gonna eat here. I'll check I've got less units than him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and he's got 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Kelly is getting value. Could have also renewed Cranthea there. Could have been the play. But my Ozeral's looking pretty good off the renew.
101, 102, 103.
So 11-point Ozeral is the best renew target, I believe. Yikes, we draw. I mean, to be honest, right, like, I probably didn't play it perfectly, but let's be honest, that deck is an absolute joke. It has so many points. It's a little bit of a joke, that deck, right? But, again, I'm playing at pro rank with Keltullis, going first against Nilfgaard Poison Masquerade Ball, right? And I'm going super tall. You can see the flexibility of the deck. You can see it's an absolute blast to play. Lots of different considerations and lines of play you can make. It's an absolute favour of mine. Yeah, I feel like I could have probably done something to get that point in that game. Maybe Kelly'd a bit sooner, potentially. My Kelly was very late. I do wonder if I could have just got it up and running a turn sooner. Maybe even using my Raw Decree for Matter, which would have extended the length of the round, could have been an idea. Something like that. I'm sure there was something to get that point, but let's just put it down to Nilfgaard being overtuned. Because we actually outplayed him, alright, but we lost. Feels bad. Probably just overdid it on the defenders, because he wasn't even close to getting through in the end. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I am streaming on Twitch pretty much every day at the moment, so do check me out there. And also, if you've made it this far in the video, please do like the video. That would be much appreciated. It'll help the channel out. And yeah, pretty much it. Subscribe as well, obviously. Yeah, thank you so much. My name's Specie. Cheers. There it is. Cheers. Nice one. Bang.